Millionaire's paralyzed daughter had never walked, until the nanny's shocking move changed. Lucas Grant had everything money could buy, luxury cars, sprawling estates, a company worth billions, but all the wealth in the world couldn't fix the one thing that kept him awake at night. His 8-year-old daughter, Emily, had been paralyzed from birth and had never taken a single step. Doctors said she never would. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him to raise her alone, and though he loved Emily more than life itself, his days were swallowed by business meetings and endless responsibilities, so her world became one of hospital visits, wheelchairs, and the quiet loneliness of their mansion. When Lucas hired a new nanny, a young woman named Clara, he expected nothing more than someone to ensure Emily was fed, schooled, and safe, but Clara was unlike anyone he'd ever met. She didn't treat Emily like she was fragile or broken, she treated her like she was unstoppable. Instead of keeping Emily in her wheelchair all day, Clara would take her outside, making her feel the grass between her fingers, letting her paint the sky with watercolors, and telling her stories about children who overcame impossible odds. At first, Lucas was skeptical, even irritated, warning Clara not to give Emily false hope, but Clara only smiled and said, "Hope isn't false, Mr. Grant, it's the first step to change." One rainy afternoon, Lucas returned home early to find the two of them in the living room. Clara had Emily standing, yes, standing, while holding onto the back of the couch. Emily's legs trembled violently, and her face was red from the effort, but her eyes shone brighter than Lucas had ever seen. His heart leapt in fear, he rushed forward, ready to scold Clara for risking injury, but stopped when Emily, through clenched teeth, whispered, "Daddy, look at me." It was only for a moment before she collapsed back into Clara's arms, but Lucas had seen it. His daughter had stood on her own. From that day on, Clara began a secret routine with Emily. Every morning before Lucas left for work, she would guide Emily through gentle exercises, not focusing on walking but on building strength, patience, and belief. She turned therapy into games, each small movement a victory worth celebrating, and every setback a chance to try again. Weeks passed, then months. Lucas noticed subtle changes. Emily's posture improved, her laughter was louder, and her eyes carried a spark of something he hadn't seen before, determination. One crisp autumn morning, Clara called Lucas into the garden. Emily was there, holding on to a walker. Lucas froze, his breath caught in his throat. "Watch this," Clara said softly. Emily took one shaky step, then another. Her little face was scrunched in concentration, and her arms trembled, but she kept going, 3 steps, then 4, before collapsing into Lucas's arms, both of them crying so hard neither could speak. Lucas realized in that moment that Clara's false hope had been the very thing Emily needed to fight for something everyone else had deemed impossible. The doctors were stunned, the therapists speechless, but to Lucas, it didn't matter what they said, he had seen his daughter walk. Later that evening, after Emily was tucked into bed, Lucas asked Clara why she had pushed so hard when everyone else had given up. She smiled through her tears and said, "Because no one ever taught me to stop believing. And I wasn't about to let her grow up without that gift." Years later, Emily would walk, unaided, across the stage at her high school graduation, the crowd rising to their feet in thunderous applause. Lucas stood there, tears streaming down his face, knowing that the moment had been born the day Clara refused to treat hope like a lie. In a world obsessed with wealth and status, Lucas learned the most valuable treasure was not in his bank account, but in the courage of those who dare to believe in the impossible. And from that day forward, he promised never to underestimate the power of one person's kindness to change another person's entire life.